All right, folks, good morning. Captain Paul here, and this morning I'm back to ironing my shirts. And you might ask me, why am I ironing my shirts? Because I'm still employed over at the island, barely. Any of us that think we're, boat captains, so-called boat captains, paper captains, whatever you want to call, whatever you want to call us, going out there and doing it for a living, it'll humble you real quick, trust me. Anyway, this week, but everything seems to be going good. Last week was my first week of training over at Little Palm Resort, and I'm basically just the driver. Drives the. There's 3 different boats that we drive across there. I'll show you a picture of one of them right here. It's called the Truman. It's actually a pretty cool boat. Anyway, everything's going good there with the training. Got another week of training, and then I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to supposedly move me to the night shift, but we'll see what happens as things go. Anyway, what I want to talk about this week is get into the next step of where we were at, doing this Bahamas trip, because this is week 17 now. For me, it was probably our best week. I don't know why I think that, but it just was. We got out here, we're over in the, we're leaving the dry Tortugas, and that's where we left off last week. And we still don't know some things about Southern Estate here. We still hadn't learned a few things, and we still had this learning curve of learning the boat and everything, and what it's capable of, what its power systems. But we're really now completely off grid almost, except for our visit to Key West with Steve there. And I can't say thank you enough, Steve, for everything that you've done for the channel, for me personally. We still remain friends, and I'm going to look at a boat next week for him. No, it's actually this week, sorry. Get over to Key West, and we stay that's the first time we pull into a marina after leaving the dry Tortugas. And we were there for a couple of days. We had dinner and lunch and stuff like that. But now we have to prepare the boat because we're getting ready to run back down to Miami and then run all over the Keys. And we're going to pick up Pete's girlfriend, Justine. We call her Tats. And for the record, Tats is coming back, I think in July. I think her schedule... She gave Pete her schedule yesterday, and I think she's coming back. She's excited to come back. Hopefully we'll get to take the boat over to somewhere. We'll probably go back to Key West is what we'll do. I wanted your guys' opinions too. I'll show you here where we, one night we all got, we were out there in Key West, and we got fake tattoos. And I kind of liked my tattoo. What do you guys think? Should I get a real one? Just leave me your comment down below whether you think I should get a real tattoo. But we had fun with Tats. She was, we didn't know her. And what we did after Steve left is we actually took the boat and came back around. We stayed in Newfound Harbor, which happens to be the harbor I worked in. I didn't know at the time that any of that was going to happen. But, when we get down to the Keys here, we find our learning curve is huge. So we leave Key West, we get over to Miami, where we're going to pick up Tats, and it gives us a chance to learn, the Keys and which way to go and how to get there, and in the back of the Keys, the front of the Keys, so the Atlantic side of the Keys, and then you have the Gulf side of the Keys, we'll call it. And so what we did is we came in, that was our first night we spent in Newfound Harbor, then we went to Marathon the next day. We just took a nice slow trip. That's the week we actually watched the Super Bowl. And anyway, so we just cruised on down to Miami. We went over to a place called No Name. That's when we learned about No Name, and that's where you stage to go over for the Bahamas, or you can. We didn't do it, but you can. And the learning curve was huge. We picked up Tats over there. We got to meet another YouTube subscriber, a big fan of the channel, and brought him out to the boat, and he got to see the boat. Hector, thank you so much for your support. Like I said, it was amazing. It's glad to have you aboard, and it meant a lot, and I can't wait to have you out here, and because he really wants to come out and drive the boat and learn how to slip it really well, so I still owe him that. Anyway, and we will get that done. Anyway, so then Tats gets on the boat. We don't know Tats. I mean, we do know Tats, sorry. But we don't know how it's all going to work because we just come from different parts of the world. You know, Tats comes from, say, wealth and money, and me and Pete, we don't come from that kind of money. So it was kind of weird bringing her into this environment. You know, this is a 40-year-old trawler. So we were all a little nervous about that. Or we all weren't. Me and Pete were. You know, because it is an older boat. And, you know, it's not a big fancy $5 million yacht that you see down in Miami, and we saw them all over the place. Trust me, they're everywhere. And so bringing Tats aboard was you know, a weird thing. Some people, you know, didn't like it. Some people liked it. But in the end, it was like having another guy on the boat. It was just so much fun. We just, you know, one of my favorite scenes is us coming back when she was actually, we were out on a dive site snorkeling in the Key West over there, and she used me for chum. I didn't know what was going on at the time, but looking back at it, you know, and we take the ride over, I'll show you the little scene, because I don't know why, but I just love that scene. All right, Captain, explain the situation, what happened with Sparrow here. This is Jack Sparrow right there. Talk to me, Goose. So I jumped off the boat first. When you were taking pictures with the camera, I guess, and I'm going, and Sparrow just, these flippers, this, they're just, those
flippers were bothering me. I didn't know how to use those flippers. And then you let go of my leg, and I'm like, hey, if shark's gonna get me, you're gonna be there with me. That's
so,
kind of worked out.
You wanted to basically just use me for chum.
Well, I can't think of a better thing to use for chum.
Right? Oh my God.
She had the right fucking. I'm sorry.
I got to hang up it fairly quick. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, she did.
So, yeah, about after 15 minutes, she calmed down.
Yeah, once she calmed down, everything was good.
Everything.
Now she wants to go back.
Now she's a professional snorkel diver, telling us, running us around like, get this, do that, get some video of this. And we're all just laughing, having a good time, and that's the way the whole trip went with Justine. And so, anyway, so we enjoy our time with Tats, and she basically got to go from Miami all the way back. So we took her up, you know, Biscayne Bay, through all Card Sound, all of that, and then we worked our way up to Miami. She stayed the night in Newfound Harbor. That's another night that we spent there, and she got the nickname Jack Sparrow because we went over to this island called Jack's Island. It's really not Jack's Island. I didn't know what it was called back then. At the time, I don't know this, but it's called Coupon Keys, actually, but also known as Picnic Island. Anyway, we met Jack over there and Tats, and that's the first time we ever, none of us really drink. I don't drink at all anymore, and Pete will have one drink once in a while, and then Tats had a few drinks, and over on the island, what they call Picnic Island, or some people know it as Jack's Island. Anyway, out there in Newfound Harbor, there's actually a little island out there some guy lives on, and it's an interesting island if you ever get a chance to go out there, but have an open mind, that's what I'll tell you. Anyway, so we get Tats, and then we head over to Key West, and then we have an appointment in Key West with a mechanic to look at the boat, because it's something that I've wanted to get done from the very beginning. Is, you know, like you always hear the 1,000-hour service on your engines. That's basically pulling the valve covers, checking, you know, going into that in-depth, you know, if you got intercoolers, it's replacing the intercoolers or checking them and having them pulled off and checked and all that stuff. So I wanted to do like that kind of an in-depth thing on the boat, because we're taking it over to the Bahamas, and I just didn't know. It's just something I wanted to do. I know it needed to be done, so I did it. So we contacted Trawler Tom, and he agreed to come out to the boat and work on the boat in the slip and do the valve adjustment. So after Tats left, and we were planning on leaving Key West, we went over there and got those valves adjusted. Next thing that happened is, for some reason, you know, I guess with Trawler Tom, you got to have your own parts, and I didn't have my own parts, so we ended up, he brought a part and it didn't work. It was one of the valve cover gaskets. So the next morning we got, after he did the valve adjustment, we got ready to leave. Well, sorry, let me back up just a little bit, because while he was doing the valve adjustments on the starboard engine, he found a problem with one of our push rods. And what happened was there was no oil getting through the push rod, and the arm, the rocker arm itself, needed to be taken off and cleaned. Well, then we said, well, can you do it today or tomorrow? And he said no, because he had plans to leave and go somewhere else. He had another captaining gig, I think it was. And so then I said, I immediately called American Diesel, Brian, the next day, found out that we could make, it's a pretty simple repair, and he felt like I could do it. So then what I did is I said, well, let's get the boat back to, let's just nurse it back to Marathon. So when we did that, that's when we found out that we had a leaking oil, valve cover gasket, so it slowed us down quite a bit. And what I ended up doing is just running the boat at, it actually happened twice, because Tom said he's going to come back the next day, but it just didn't. I learned a lot that day. Trust me. It's, you know, don't replace something that's not broken. There was nothing wrong with that valve cover gasket, and then the one we kept trying to use, we tried to use it again. It just didn't. What happened was it was so far out of whack that it couldn't. There's no way we could have ever got that gasket to work. So then I ended up nursing the boat back to Marathon, and Marathon was a very interesting place, because when we originally bought Southern Estate here, we weren't, you know, we knew all the systems. By now we've replaced a lot of the systems. You know, our solar panels are working great, generators are working great, everything on the boat's working great. But the old man told us that there was a water maker on this boat, and we didn't know. You know, we're thinking, the thing's old, there's no way this water maker is going to fire up. It's just impossible, you know, to have this vintage 40-year-old trawler and then to expect the water maker to work. We're saying, that's just not possible. But believe it or not, we got here to Marathon. We made a couple of friends. Tom, I can't thank you enough for coming and looking at the water maker. And he actually, we got it working. We had to order a few things. One was a water checker to actually check how many particulates are in the water and stuff like that. And then, you know, just learning how to turn it on equalize the system, or on purge the system from its setting. And, you know, it worked. And so our plan was never to carry, because dragging these cases of bottled water and gallons of water and drinking water, and little did we know how important all this was when we got over to the Bahamas. Had we known that, you know, we would have made sure. I don't want to say that I would have had a different plan if I didn't have a water maker, but we had a working water maker, so we didn't. That's what we planned on using, was that water maker. After we found out that we had a working water maker, and it was huge. It really was huge. You know, it was just a huge plus. And then another one of the projects that I worked on was the shaft seals. And this one actually ended up to bite us in the butt too, because what I found out and what happened are two different things, but I was able to overcome very quickly that situation. But let me explain it to you. What happened was, the day we're getting ready to leave, so we spent 2 weeks on anchor in Marathon, Florida, getting the boat ready for the Bahamas. And I had to go in and fix the valve job, you know, the overhead valve job. I had to go in there, pull that the valve assembly apart on top of the port engine, and sorry, it was the starboard engine. And I had to pull that apart, and you know, I was nervous about that. And then another thing I wanted to do was the shaft seals. So I got the engine running, and you know, it was a huge celebration for us to get that accomplished. I gotta tell you, I was a little nervous about it. I'm not gonna lie to you, because you know, my background is I used to be a diesel mechanic when I went to school for it when I was very young, but I didn't like it, and I just haven't done a lot of it since then. And I don't work on my own cars. You know, just take them to the dealership, whatever dealership. You know, if I have a Dodge, it goes to a Dodge dealer. If I have a Ford, it goes to a Ford dealer. If I have a Chevy, it goes to a Chevy dealer. It's just the way I am. It's especially these last, I don't know, 20 years. I don't mess with old cars, and I don't like getting my hands dirty with that kind of stuff. So anyway, we get the valves working, and it was a huge celebration. And you know, I was just like, woo! And then I wanted to do the packing shaft seal on my shaft seal on the starboard engine, and I got that done. But I really couldn't test it because we're in the hook. And it's kind of a delicate situation in Marathon because it was like the very busy time of year. And so we had to stay on our anchor. And so I didn't want to pull the anchor. And I couldn't test the seal properly. But the morning we're leaving to start to head to the Bahamas, what a disaster. I get up. We take the boat over to the fuel dock because that's where we're going to top off fuel because Marathon has the cheapest fuel. And when we get over, by the time we get over to the fuel dock, I went back, I tested my my seal, and it was completely gone. It was like I didn't do anything. And what it was, what I found out, or what I figured out, is that it had, the old owner left 5/8 inch rope or seal or whatever you want to call it on the boat here, and it was too big. It should have been 1/2 inch. It shouldn't have been 5/8. So then I was out there with the 5/8 inch sealer trying to make that work on the fuel dock, because now we don't have anything. We've lost everything on that engine. We lost our ability to, you know, even drive the boat. So we had to pull the boat forward. But what happened, I actually took a hammer and I smashed the 5/8 inch gasket. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick and I'll show it to you. So anyway, I was able to go out on the dock. They had a concrete gut, and I said, Pete, I'm going to try this one time and see what happens. And boom, 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 I smashed it out. I got it nice and thin, and got a good piece and got my ends cut correctly. And it's still not correct today. I'm still running that same seal in there. But I got that in there, and I learned a lot. It was actually, I learned more from that than I did anything else ever packing the shaft on one of these old boats. But I got it to work, and it worked. It's working great. It's working today. Like, there's no leaking. Right now, when the boat is stopped, there's no leaking of my shafts, and you shouldn't be leaking. The boat should not be leaking water when the boat is stopped. With those, when you have a shaft seal, a drip type shaft seal, which is what I have on the Southern Estate. So, and you know, when you're stopped, shouldn't be any water dripping. When you're moving, it should be dripping just a little bit. There should be like a drop every, I don't know, every couple of minutes type thing. And it is right now. So then I know my problem, so I says, okay, we'll pick up a new shaft seal just in case I lose that one. And I just got lucky, you know. I was out there, I got it tested, and we, you know, everything worked out fine. But now I want to do the port engine before we I actually did that in the Bahamas, so I don't want to spoil that for you guys. But what we did do while we were here is we picked up the correct half inch seal when we went over to Key Largo. So then again, we took another trip. To end this week, we end up heading back down the Keys, all the way back down to basically Miami, and then we ended up heading over to Fort Lauderdale. and that's where we actually staged to go out over to the Bahamas, and that's where I'm going to end it this week, is us getting ready for the Bahamas. But what that whole month, and we're going to call that a whole month, entailed was you know, just really learning the keys. Going, like, now we've done Biscayne Bay twice. We've done Marathon to Key West twice. We've been out now. We've got the fishing poles out, and we're starting to learn how to fish. And you know, we start to learn the different, you know, like Key Largo, Marathon, and Key West. Those are your three main big hubs. You know, if you need parts, you need any help, you need anything, those are your three big places to get that type of stuff. So we're learning that. And then we get to learn our approaches into Miami, No Name, and so leaving Marathon, we head over and we do a couple stops that we hadn't ever done before, like Boca Chica. We got to learn that one, and then we went over to No Name for a day or two, and then we went around, because what we're doing is we're waiting out the weather window to get over to the Bahamas. And I'm a little nervous, and I learned, god damn, I learned a lot. Holy shit, when I think about it. Because, you know, I think some people get over, how do I want to say this? You know, like buying all this information, and you need all of this stuff. In the end, I didn't really just do what I do, and it's the same. It didn't change. And what I mean by that is the weather app that I use had the same information that all these gurus had and all that stuff, and all I had to do is look at it and understand it to really know what was happening as we're getting ready to go over to the Bahamas. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, because you'll have to watch next week's video on what happens to us going over to the Bahamas. But we did go over in less than perfect conditions. But in my defense, we didn't have any choice. It was either go or wait another week. And so we went, and it really wasn't that bad. If you can't boat in 4 to 5 foot waves, then don't go out, and don't go out into the ocean. Anyway, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Big thing this week is tattoo, no tattoo. Let's hear your comment. And then, you know, what do you think about Justine and Tats? You know, she is coming back to the boat. She'll be back here in July, and so we'll have her back on here. Captain's job is going good, and, you know, we'll see next week if you know, I can still hold the position. I am struggling a little bit with my maneuvering. These are much smaller boats, much bigger horsepower. And you know, we'll see what happens, but I think I'm going to be all right. It's just a learning curve, and just like anything else. Anyway, I can't say thank you enough to all you guys, especially patrons and stuff like that. You guys got to be patient for me. I'm just kind of taking a couple week breather here. I'm getting through the training over there at Little Palm Island, and I'll get through it. And once I do, then I'll get back into doing some more videos and stuff like that, because I actually do have a few videos that I want to do. Anyway, peace out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, share it with your friends. I do appreciate it, and thank you guys so much. Bye.